Let's get it.
Okay, wholeness to the family. And as always, we try to make sure that every revelation that comes to us from the ancestor, we like to make sure that it is simplified as possible. And at the same time, using, this language, in particular the English language. But nevertheless, what we want to do is let you know that that is the fundamental requirement, is that everything have to connect back up. Everything have to reconnect. And that once it reconnects, then it can activate within us how vital it is for us to reconnect to the source that what brought this information to us. And I want to use that as a lead in as we look at where we are. Now, many of us are on different levels in terms of understanding the teachings that we are bringing forth online. But what we really need to understand is that if we don't get the foundation and the foundation that I'm referring to, it has to go back to the Esau, Jacob of the two twins wrestling within the womb. That is our fundamental understanding. Once you get that, once you really conceptualize that, it will cause everything else that you read in the narrative to relate and reconnect up. And it will bring forth the kind of understanding that you can see without a doubt that what you are doing in the path that you on is correct. Every time you try to utilize the intellectual way of viewing the scriptures, regardless of who taught you before and what you've learned from it, you're just not going to come forth with the essence of truth. As we have read numerous times in Power versus Force, we find where the author tells us that reason will not, allow you to what? Access the truth. So we can't rationalize this. We can't theorize this. We can't, conceptualize this based upon that form of intellect. It's just not going to happen. You may get some aspects of it, but you will not get the absolute. You will not get the absolute. And so we want to go back and keep us rooted there, keep us grounded there, understanding that relationship that took place in the womb. And when you think of the womb, you got to transition the womb from a woman into what? Your consciousness, yourself. If you don't do that, you're going to be trying to figure out how two twins rise, and then you're going to try to figure out how two different nations, and all the nations cannot live together, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to put that in motion so that when I finish with what I'm going to share today, hopefully Eitai can kind of go back and link it all in and bring us back, into this harmonious concept I'm referring to. As mentioned before, and you do have two notes coming from myself. You got the one previous to yesterday and then today. So I'm prepared to send both of them out today. So you will have them after the particular class today. And I'm going to start with what I started with yesterday. The language of English is a veil. Now, when we look at the term veil, we see in one of the major religions today, of the three major religions, we see women wearing veils. And possibly we've never really asked why. I've heard it said as to, well, they didn't want you to see, how they look, but it was much, much more involved in that, if you veil something, you're trying to discredit that which you are veiling. You're trying to discredit it. Remember that. You ain't veiling it because it doesn't have any value. You're veiling it because you're trying to discredit it. And that's how I want to look at the veil. Say, English is a veil. If it's a veil, then it's trying to what? Discredit something. But we're going to understand how vital it is to get to, as Eitai pointed out yesterday, our original language. So we're going to have to now look at this a whole nother kind of way. So we mentioned about the anthology, and we said an anthology was a collection of information. And this, what we're talking about, we have been collecting information from here, there, and everywhere. And we've had access to information that was not correct, not true. And we've had access to information that is true. But when you're asleep, it's hard for you to differentiate, or for us to differentiate from what is truth and what is false when you're asleep. So we were raised in the Western world, majority of us. And of course, we were taught about our heritage, and it certainly had nothing to do with America. It, as I mentioned yesterday, that we was brought to America as slaves. Well, if you're a slave and you're brought to serve somebody else. Again, this is why I want us to go back to the foundation of the Esau and Jacob, so that we can really understand how this, worked. Continue on, we say a veil as, now here's a word, Aba'al. Aba'al. Now we've been told that Baal was a god that couldn't speak. And now you think about it, so he was a god that had to be carried around, and the Israelites, when they was on the move, according to the narrative, they carried Baal around, you understand, as a statue, so to speak. Baal couldn't speak. Now that's what we've been taught. And many of us can go to like page 81, 82, 83, and the resurrection from judgment to post-judgment, and you can see a whole spiel on the concept of Baal. So this is a major, major revelation that we are talking about here. And as we continue on, we look at the English. We said the English language is a veil. In our language, meaning our former language, we would say Aba'al, because there is no V sound in our language. Now, we verified this yesterday. When you go back to the Hebrew, Aleph, Beit, Veit, they say. You got two Beits, but it was then said, no, one of them is a Beit. So Aleph, Beit, Veit. So the Veit gave the V sound. So she's saying, the sister was saying to us that there was no V sound, it was a V sound. Okay, so keep in mind now, the V sound belongs to strangers. The V, like in victory, belongs to strangers, people who are not our people. The English is literally a Ba'ala, long a Ba'al. You know who Baal is, or Baal. In order for you to get to the truth of what our fathers actually wrote, we are not talking about what was translated. We have to be able to return to our ancient Hebrew to understand. And this is what the challenge is for Eitai and myself that's been teaching, to get us beyond this thing called language, period. But we're using a language, and we find that the Hebrew gives us a more accurate when we understand the symbols which all languages compose. Out of bait of all languages, naturally we know are symbols. But when the symbols are understood, then it gives you a more accurate understanding of what was being said. And I want to put forth something that's on my mind right now. And before we get off the line today, I'd like someone to speak to this point. The word cancer. Cancer is a major disease. Now we understand that it, in most of the states in the Western world, it is surpassing heart attacks. So now it may have already been, but this is what just recently came out. Cancer. So my question is, why do we feel that the medical association today named cancer after the constellation of zodiac cancer? Why did they name that? And that's what came to me. That's what came to me today. Why did they name cancer after the zodiac sign Cancer? And of course, I tried to do some small research. I didn't get a lot out of it, but nevertheless, I want that to be known by the family as we continue. So, in order for us to get back to the truth of what our fathers actually wrote, we are not talking about what was translated. We have to be able to return to the ancient Hebrew. The English language is literally a code that must be broken. Returning to our language means we must remove the veil. Now, the veil, that again, we go back to the scriptures. It talks about Moses placing a veil over his face, when he went into the Holy of Holies. I think that's correct. And then when he come out, the veil was supposed to remain because it was supposed to be untaken away so that the children of Israel is stated narratively that they could not look steadfast to the end. Now, we can maybe go back and we can pull that scripture up and make sure that that's the correct.
Okay.
Okay. Continuing on. The veil must be removed. Now, we're moving now to the language name conspiracy, because this is a real key piece here. The name conspiracy, the language name conspiracy. So we said the Tetragrammaton, Yah, we find something within the Tetragrammaton, Yah, we find something strange that occurred when we go back to the 9th century of the Common Era. This is when the vowel points was added by the Jewish rabbinate. This was called the Masoretic Lexion Vowels letter system that was invented. These vowels became Aleph, Hey, Vav, and Yud. Aleph, Hey, Vav, and Yud. Now that's interesting because when you look at Aleph, Hey, Vav, and Yud, we look at the Hey, Vav, and Yud, and right there we see the word Yah. Hey, Vav, Yud. Now, Yahuwah. So we see Hey, and then we see Yud, and then we see Vav, Hey. So we see Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. Yahuwah. So now we see that these vowels was created. But when we observe the Hebrew name for the creator and the first letter Yud, and it is masculine, and then Hey, which is feminine, that gives us the name Yah. Then the English, we see the feminine letter or word first, which depicts the earth symbol as the letter symbol, being then the last letter symbol being masculine. when we use the ideas such as earth feminine, wind masculine, fire masculine, and water feminine, we reach the tetragrammaton. Therefore, all of our teaching has been a male concept of God and nothing about the feminine. There was no thought even mentioned until the late 1960s, until the questions are asked during the late 60s. When such knowledge, information come unto you, sometimes it brings revelations. And in this case, and point, language of English is veiled, and thus turning my attention to the language named conspiracy, because where attention goes, energy flows. The response from the ancestors was a call of my attention to the biblical writings of Isaiah 8:16-20 concerning where we should seek and to whom we must seek to recover the answers/solution. Now I'm going to read these verses, but then I'm going to explain. This is quite interesting as I found. And I started out and I found myself intellectualizing, this is how serious this is, and trying to deal with this. And immediately, very confusing. But I had to go back and understand this from an energetic, inner consciousness of what I already know that's in me. Other than that, nobody else has taught me. How would I know? So I'm using the symbol, the language, to help gain the understanding. Now I want you to listen carefully. It says, bind up the testimony and seal the law among my disciples. And I will wait upon the Lord that hideth his face from the house of Jacob. And I will look for him. Behold, I and the children whom the Lord has given me are for signs and for wonders in Israel from the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth in Mount Zion. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and mutter, should not a people seek unto their God, for the living to the dead? To the law and the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there's no light in them. Now, of course, we all had that explained to us. And of course, we didn't know. And whoever explained it to us, we accepted what they had given us as what it meant. So let's go back and look at this. It's just like the term Baal, so to speak. Once we buy into a concept that someone has given us, and we have respect and value for the individual that gives it to us, now you don't seek to see is there a greater or more in-depth understanding. You just accept that and you go forward and you become a teacher of the same thing. This is how we were trained. Trained as followers and not leaders.
Okay,
Nasik.
These were, now, I'm going to go back. These verses call our attention to bind, and the word bind is sarah, to put under obligation. Now, that's the key point there. To put under obligation. So if the very first verse said, bind up the law and the testimony among my disciples, somebody is under some obligation.
okay.
Now, so when we begin to understand this in the broader sense, it says the obligation here is to be untrue. Now, I know we didn't get that from our teaching. It said to be untrue, to deny, to disown. to deal falsely and to deceive. Now that's what the word bind means.
Wow. Wow.
Then I say, as a testimony,
Wow, indeed.
kahad is to give evidence or witness so as to be done, to seal, and the word seal is hathan, to make an end. And this was to continue among disciples, which is disciples is lamad, to learn, to study, to practice, to turn, to be taught or educated. This was done to hide, the word is satar, to conceal, by covering, to keep secret.
Nasik,
Uh-huh.
don't mean to interrupt, but I'm going to add something to that word, oblige. All right?
Okay.
Oblige. And, of course, we see that OB, right?
Right.
To begin that, and you had asked us about this word familiar spirit.
Right.
Look at that yesterday. It's connected. Now, the next
Right.
word, the next word is Lige. It is the
Right.
same, it is the same word that makes up religion.
Ah.
It's the same word, base word that makes up religion. And religion, when you look it up etymologically, it means to bind again. A ligature is something that ties you up
There we go.
and constricts you. So this is right on line.
There we go.
This is
That's
right
what
on line. So it is talking about what we emphasize. What we emphasize, uh, day in and day out. This religious mindset or perspective, that is the thing that is binding us. So
absolutely.
I just want to interject that.
Excellent. 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 Continuing on, so all this was to be a sign or oath to assent or consent as a wonder, yada, to know, as knowledge, as observation, as to wherever it was that we dwell, and dwell was the word shakan, to reside permanently in solitary or saddened by isolation. So we found ourselves, in a situation where we were in a solitary condition, saddened by being isolated, accepted, and having any value among anybody. No one thought nothing of us.
Right.
And we resided permanently there when we were without this activated neuromelanin. Thereafter, we were instructed to seek, and seek is darash, to tread frequently, to follow, pursue, search by asking, to worship diligently. This was all in vain because we were under the false knowledge, as we said, bind up the law among my disciples, untruth, false knowledge. So we were inquiring of the dead instead of the living. As we sought the familiar spirits unto wizards, yada, those that know, and that peep, safar, that chatter, whisper, or crip, and mutter, and the word mother is a kaga, to go masked as an actor, to murmur in pleasure or anger. And that's exactly what all of us been doing. We've been murmuring, we've been going around acting, masked like we were happy, but we was what? Angry with what was going on, with no solution
Mm-hmm.
to the problem. Continuing on, should not a people seek unto the dead, moot, it will cause us to die, and figuratively kill those that were seeking to find their way from the influence of falsehood or to deceive, to
Mm.
cause to accept as true or valid what is false or invalid. And that's where we've been, under deception. As we sought to speak or teach according to the things that we had been listening to, was to bind the law, which is untrue. Therefore, under the influence to deceive, no one could absorb light, because the active agent of neuromelanin,
Wow.
which is the primary energy, there was always and will be the divine feminine. Remember, all that is to come will be from within and not from any extraneous power or force coming from the outside source. It cannot come from an outside source. And this is
Okay.
a testimony as to how we know now that something has been activated within us,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
because we've been had access to the Hebrew, we've been had access to the English, and
Right.
access to everything, and we couldn't come forth with these kind of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we are at this point, and we'll make the notes available to everybody so you can continue to perfect this understanding of who we are and where the power is and where the power will come from. So with that, Selah.
Wow. That that Nasik that's a brilliant revelation there. And this is the power. It's just, to me, it's a demonstration of the power of what it is that we're doing. Because these revelations now are coming day by day, if not moment by moment. And the brilliant thing about this, and the most confirming aspect, that these things are that what we're experiencing is genuine, because it is following, like Nasik said, the fundamental outline that we've been um, stressing, and that we've been emphasizing on a daily basis. And I hope everyone can see that, because this is just it's amazing. It's awesome. And I earlier today I was going back over what we did yesterday, and the portion, especially the introduction. And you have to really, like Nasik said, listen to these things and get an understanding of the framework, because that is fundamental. That is fundamental. And the overall framework is this aspect of dark matter, or dark matter energy consciousness, melanin. And when we understand the overall um, the overall theme of the narrative, and that is the correcting of a flaw that has to do with, the genetic flaw, the recessive trait, and eliminating that recessive trait of melanin, everything becomes clear. And this is why we continue to emphasize this fundamental, overall, big picture theme of this, and we frame it within, a 4 to 6,000 year period. 6,000 years, of course, being when we, our forefathers, did what? Created the aberrant man. Created the aberrant man. And the 400-year period is connected to that. We created the aberrant man because we needed that group of people, Nasik, to wrestle with us,
There we go.
to contend with us in real time.
Right, right.
In order to do what? Eliminate this flaw by way of a real time ritual. A real time ritual which took place 400 years ago during slavery. And all you have to do, Nasik and I, we talked briefly about this morning. All you have to do is go back 500 years to understand when this shift started to take place. And when you do that, you will understand that everything, or almost everything that took place, had to do with us. And it, again, Nasi, fits within that prophetic framework, within that prophetic narrative.
Right.
And this is the true nature of reality. What we're doing uh, in this study is shifting from the simulated reality, from the matrix, from the illusion to what it is that is real. And as you do that and you familiarize yourself with the framework, or like Nasi said, with the language of the symbols, the things that are hidden in darkness, they come into plain view. The things that are concealed, Nasi, like you talked about, they come into plain view. The things that are hidden are no longer hidden. So this is something that we're accessing that is dynamic, it is real, and we just need to realize it and acclimate ourselves to it. And you'll see this thing is contagious. It is contagious. And you will not be able to help but to see these things. And this is where we're at. And I think it's awesome. I think this is just fantastic. And it's everything that I've ever waited on and expected from a spiritual experience.
Akita.
I hope everyone else feels the same because I feel like that. This is real, y'all.
Yeah.
Real.
Akita.
Go ahead, Shosh.
With your permission, I would like to enhance what you and Nasik are sharing with everybody on the call. I would like to do an exercise.
Okay.
It's about 2 minutes.
All right.
You know, I would like everybody on the call to close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths and let me know when you finish.
Finish.
Everyone done? Okay. Now, Keep your eyes closed. I want everybody, without opening your mouth, I want everyone to say their name 3 times and let me know when you finish.
Finished.
Finished.
Okay. Now, my question is, who was speaking?
Me. Me. Boy, comes from me.
Now, the next question is, who was listening? There it is.
Very good.
There it is.
Very,
Okay.
very good. Very good.
That's a real simple demonstration there.
Absolutely. It's that simple, Nasik.
Very, very, very profound. Very profound. That is brilliant. That is brilliant there. But it really underscores everything that we've been speaking about in terms of the human aspect and the divine aspect. So very, very brilliant. And Nasik started out by saying that everything must be reconnected. That the aspect of this separation must be corrected. This is actually the flaw, and this is the goal. Nasik, this is the goal of every.
I'm going to cut you off. Just what you just said there. If it's really conceptualized, that is the key. You said the separation and the division, that is actually the flaw.
That is actually the flaw.
Yes.
That's profound when you talk about it.
That's correct. And that is this dominant, and recessive. This,
right.
This dualistic aspect that is in us.
Wow. Oh boy.
Now see, watch how this goes. Watch how this goes. Now you had talked about that one word that translated into oblige. Give us that word again. That was in bind.
Yeah.
Bind.
Right. It says the word to put under obligation.
Correct.
Right.
That is the definition of the Hebrew word translated as bind.
Yeah, it's TSAW-RAR.
Sarah.
Sarah.
Sarah. Wow.
Right.
Sarah. This is unbelievable. Nasik, I'm gonna have to share with you the etymology of that word Sarah. All right.
Okay.
The etymology of that word Sarah.
Excellent.
But it's the word bind now. Now we're gonna take this the other way, Nasik. All right. We're gonna take it the other way because that binding that happened, that bound up or bound us up into a religious or a belief system perspective again, must be reversed. And
Have to be right.
now, one of the fundamental energetic characters or energetic characteristics rather, or cosmic qualities of melanin, of dark matter energy, is number one, its absorbent quality or characteristic, and number two, its binding power or
Absolutely.
quality or characteristic.
Right. Right.
All right.
Right.
So
Right.
this is this power that is influencing us now to reconnect,
Right. Right.
to reconnect. This is this power that is compelling us to what? Reconnect with our source and reconnect with our language, and ultimately, Nasi, reconnect these lands that have been separated.
There we go. There
All
we
right.
go.
Yes, yes, yes.
There we go. There we go.
And again, it goes back to what we emphasized yesterday in the 10th and 11th chapters of Genesis. The 25th verse in particular, in the 10th chapter, where it talked about Eber, and that he lived during a time where the entire earth was one holistic landmass.
Right. Right.
And then it jumps over to uh, the 11th chapter of Genesis, where it goes into a little bit of detail of the time before the earth was divided. In Eber's generation, it is stated that the earth was divided. But it
Right.
also implies that during that time, or during his generation, he lived for a period of time where everything was holistic. Again, now see, this is metaphorical, this is symbolic, and it's not just talking about the earth like that or a holistic landmass.
We got you. We clear. Right.
Okay. So in the 11th chapter, it talks about everyone was what? Under one, that was a holistic environment.
Right.
It was a
Right.
holistic culture. It was
Right.
holistic thought, holistic language. So again, this is the goal, to what? Correct that flaw. And like Nasik said, everything must be reconnected. And I like that because it's not just the language, it's the whole world.
The
And
whole world.
it's our mentality and perception that must move from what? Dualism to wholeness and to
Right.
singularity.
Yeah.
So yesterday I talked about this astral language and the astral origin of the Hebrew alphabet. And now, see, we want to go into detail. Now, you talked about the language part of it, and we're going to go into the cosmic aspect today of that language and understand this a little bit on a higher level, and to again further expand this framework and strengthen the framework that we've already established. All right.
Okay.
And the goal of this is holistic, is wholeness, is for us to get a singularity of what? Perception, so that we
Right.
can harmonize and work together harmonically and harmoniously.
Right.
So in Genesis, the 11th chapter, and let's go there very quickly. And I want to go back to the 49th chapter, Nasik, and show you something very briefly. But in Genesis, the 11th chapter, it says the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. Now, obviously, this is hearkening back to the 10th chapter, 25th verse, to
Yeah.
before the earth was divided, or before that landmass was divided. And again,
Right.
not just talking about the landmass, but the people being divided and scattered and differentiated.
Right.
So before dualism entered in,
Yeah.
and it came
Right.
to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found. Now look, now see, they're moving from the east to the west,
Yeah.
and this is setting up the framework for us to understand that the movement continued on into the Western Hemisphere and into the
Ex-
Americas. Okay?
Right.
So as they journeyed from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to one another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth. Now, here is this word Shem, name, Nasik.
Right.
And
Right.
this should give us a hint now, because the framework that you talked about was the aspect of this name, right?
Right.
And so this is right within that same framework. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And now see, by inference, they were all on this one landmass as well.
Yeah.
And this they began to do. And now, listen, nothing will be restrained from them
Nothing. Right.
which they have imagined to do. See, in duality, well, we got to look at this, that we've been what? Restrained. We got to look at this word, or bound.
Yep.
Let us go down there, confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence, from that point in time, did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the whole face of the face of all the earth. Now see, so that is when this language, not only the language was confounded and scattered, and the people were scattered, but the landmass was scattered. And I don't care what you look at this particular narrative in other languages, and they will tell you that is when that hammer was hit on the earth and it scattered the continents.
Wow.
And then again in the 10th verse, it emphasizes the generations of Shem or Shame. All right? The Shemitic people. This is very important because we talked about Simeon and Shimon, and this is very much Shimon, Nasik, the oil. This is
Right.
all connected. This is all connected. So again, this all has to do with this flaw and the correction of this flaw. All of it had to take place. We had to experience duality in real time. And Nasik, we are going to reconnect and make whole that which was dual in real time. This is what we're doing.
That's what we have to do, right?
So you had mentioned, I'm going to go back to Genesis 49 now, and we're going to connect this with the lesson that we had yesterday. Actually, Nasik, let's go to Isaiah, the 8th chapter, because you gave that reference, and it was very key. And before we go there, I want to point something out, Nasik, while we keep going back to Isaiah, okay? Because Isaiah corresponds to Asaya, all right? This fourth aspect that relates to the earth realm. This is where everything is going to be corrected. So most of our information that has to do with correcting this flaw is going to be in Asaya or Isaiah. Nasik, the things that have to do with genetics and the genetic flaw and everything that is related to that is in the book of Genesis. Makes sense?
Yeah, yeah. Right.
So these things are pretty obvious. So again, bind up the testimony, seal up the law among my disciples. And it says what? We will wait, right?
We will wait, right.
All right, so I want everyone to write that word down if you're able to. Write the word wait down. Upon the Lord, Nasik, that hideth his face. Now, again, this refers to the veil that you talked about.
Right, right.
That hideth it, so the veil must be removed. That hideth
Right.
his face from the house of Jacob, and I will look for him. Very important verse coming up next. Behold, I and the children whom the Lord hath given me are for what? For signs and for wonders in Israel from the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth in Mount Zion. We're going to focus on that because the same was said about the stars, right? That the stars and the constellations are for what? Signs. See,
And right,
right.
right.
Again, we're talking about this astral language now. See,
Absolutely.
we're gonna connect this all up very quickly here. Psalms 19, 1 through 4. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Now, this handiwork, now see, is the framework that is written in the stars. This is the holistic language, but you must understand something about astronomy and astrology. Remember, the 49th chapter of Genesis gives the zoomorphic correspondences of each of the 12 children of Israel
Right.
or the 12 zodiac.
Right.
All right. Now, it says now that it declares the glory of the work and his handiwork. This handiwork is speaking of the divine foreknowledge, the knowledge of forethought of our ancestors to provide, to do the handiwork that was going to what? Correct this flaw. Now, see, this is the power that each of us are tapping into. This is the frequency, vibrational frequency that we are matching, and where this information is coming from, where this knowledge is coming from. Can we see that?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So, very important line here, Nasik. These verses that refer to Joseph. All right.
Where we at now?
The 22nd verse of the 49th chapter of Genesis.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Now, the word Joseph means literally the future. The future. All right. And it is talking about here, Joseph is a fruitful bough. It's talking about the fruit or the outcome, the good outcome that will result or that would occur as a result of the ancestors' work.
Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
Remember
Right.
now, see, they found Joseph, whom they thought was lost. They found him in a foreign land. His brother's son, he had gone before, right?
Right.
And it says this: Joseph is a fruitful bough, even a fruitful bough by a well, whose branches did what? Ran over the wall or crossed over.
Right.
The archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him and hated him. Is it making sense?
Nice.
That
Yeah.
does it fit into the framework?
You can
Big
see the
time.
isolation. You can see the isolation there, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But his abode in strength, and the
Right.
arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. Now, parenthetically, from thence is the shepherd, the
Right.
stone of Israel,
Right.
even by the God of thy father who shall help thee, and by the Almighty. Remember, Joseph was hated. Why?
Yep.
Because of his intuitive dreams.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Because of that intuitive characteristic, right brain. Who shall bless thee with blessings of what? Heaven above. All right? We're talking Shemayim, the abode of the stars, also blessings of the deep that lieth under. That is the waters below. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
As above, so below. Blessings of the breast and of the womb. Is this talking about the the uh, generative ability It's pointing to what? The breast and the womb that has to do with what? Progeny, genetics, DNA, the transfer of melanin, dominant and recessive traits, that he would be blessed as a result of some work that went before him. Are we understanding? It is within that prophetic framework. And again, the blessings of thy father have prevailed. Who was his father? Jacob. That represented the dominant traits. They will always prevail, you all.
Excellent.
Above the blessings of my progenitors, unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills, they shall be on the head of what? Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was what? Separate from his brethren.
There we go.
Now,
Yeah.
let's go down, and I want to show you something now, see what our ancestors did. So, and Jacob, verse 33, made an end of commanding his sons. And look at what he did. He gathered up his feet into the bed, both heels, yielded up the ghost, and was gathered unto his people. Now, why did they say gather up his feet? Because we know that this has to do with the grasping of the heel.
Yeah.
What? The bruising of the heel.
Right.
Verse 2 in Psalms 19:1 through 4, rather. Day unto day uttereth speech. Talking about this language now. And night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone through all the earth, and their words to the end of the earth. That word line, Nasik, is the word kav.
The word what?
Is the word kav.
Carve.
Uh-huh.
Carve. Okay.
So we know that we're star children, that we emanated from what?
Right.
That dark
Right.
matter, nucleus
Right.
of the stars. So the word star is kokav.
Go carve.
So
Right.
now this is connecting us to this language, to this one universal language that we said was astral, right?
Right.
That we said was connected to the star formations and constellations and the corresponding astrological and zoadical symbols, zoomorphic symbols. We just saw that in we saw it yesterday when we pointed it out in Genesis 49. And so the root word of kokav is kava,
Carve.
meaning to prick, penetrate, which again connects us to the Nik kava, Nik
Right.
kava, Nik
Right.
kava, which is
Yep.
feminine,
Yep.
the feminine energy. That word line, kav nasik, means a cord or line or measuring line
So you know she's not. I don't tell she's not in.
as connecting. So we said that we must reconnect, right, to this language. And this language, we're going to find out, has a binding aspect to it. And it is also talking about a musical string or a chord of music which is vibrational in nature. Which is vibrational in nature. And when Malkiel had us to do that exercise, when you said your name 3 times and you heard it, it was vibrational, but not, Nasik, the same vibrational wavelength that the speech made by the vocal cords. It's not that language.
Okay.
It is a higher vibrational language that all of us can hear. Malkiel just proved it. So again, this word line is connected to the word kava, meaning to collect, Nasik, that is absorb, and then bind together. And it's talking about melanin.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because we stated earlier, you said everything must reconnect. And I said that one of the fundamental characteristics.
We're getting some feedback. Somebody mic.
Yeah, I can't see where it's coming from, but if everyone would mute their phones.
It's coming from call 11.
Okay, I'll mute it from here. They might not know how to mute the phone. So now see this word line, kav, which again is connected to these stars, which is connected to the divine, universal, primary language, the holistic language, is connected by the root, its root to the word kava, which means to collect and to bind together. And again, one of the fundamental energetic characteristics or cosmic qualities of melanin is its absorptive and binding power.
Right.
So, it's melanin that gives us the ability, Malkiel, to speak the language without words and to understand and hear it without words.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's powerful.
See, we have this ability. We have this ability.
Yes.
And it also means, Nasik, this word kava, it means to look patiently, to tarry, and to wait upon. Isn't that what we wrote down?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That Joseph represents, that name refers to the future. And we are experiencing, we are the ones that waited for this. And not only that, Nasik, we are going to be the subject, we are actually the subject of Isaiah 8 and 18.
Yeah,
behold,
that was
look,
yeah, right.
I and the children of the Lord have given me what?
Right.
Are for signs and wonders in Israel from the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth in Mount Zion. And I'm going to let you know that the ancients, Nasik, came here, Christopher Columbus and all of them, came here looking for the holy city of Mount Zion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And again, when we look at that word Zion, we're going to see the word Yud, Vav, and Nun Sofit.
Yud,
Yud,
Vav,
Vav, and Nun Sofit. That is the word Ayan.
right.
That is the word Ayan. And again, at a later date, we're laying the foundation now, but we're going to connect this thing on up. We going higher and higher with this. The actual text of the maxim, as above, so below, because again, it's talking about here. Let me see. Oh, the heavens. No, when it talks about this. Oh, we were here. I'm sorry. In I can't remember if it was Genesis. Bear with me. If it was Genesis 49. Wait, let me see. Okay, when it's talking about Joseph. No, it's in Isaiah. Okay. Well, I lost it. Well, I'll make the point anyway. But it's I'll go back and find it. I won't waste time. But it's talking about this binding aspect and what
That
we're doing.
was Isaiah, Isaiah 8:16.
Okay, is
Bind
Isaiah 8:16?
Isaiah,
Okay.
bind up the testimony.
Bind up the testimony, correct.
That's
Uh
Isaiah 8:16.
Cain. But this binding aspect in the aspect of melanin is binding and making one that which was separated.
Right, right.
It is summed up in the axiom as above, so below.
Mm-hmm.
And the actual text of the above axiom was translated by Dennis W. Hawk from the Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus. I highly uh, suggest that people familiarize themselves with the Emerald Tablets. It underscores and augments a lot of what we're saying. We're going to go there in later in subsequent classes. That which is below corresponds to that which is above. So we're looking, Nasik, again at the language that is in the stars. That's what I'm talking about. The language that is in the stars. All right? And again, the language that language in the stars corresponds to what? The language that we speak
Have to, yeah.
with the vocal cords. So
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
it is telling us that this astral alphabet what corresponds to the Hebrew alphabet. Everybody get it?
Yeah.
Dang.
That which is below corresponds with that which is above. So we don't want to think that, and the tendency is to think to look up in the heavens and to uh add the stars and that sort of thing. Okay, I mean, we can do that, but we have to understand that these stars are in us. These constellations
Mm-hmm.
are in us.
Yes. Yes.
And this
Say
language
that.
is in us. And what we're
Mm-hmm.
doing is reconnecting the language the Hebraic language that we familiarized ourselves with what? The cosmic language, which is its source,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with the understanding that the higher aspects are the origin of the alphabet or the symbols that are in us intrinsically. That which is above corresponds to that which is below. To do what? Accomplish the miracle of the one thing. That is what we're that is the whole goal of this. Now
And
see,
that's why the
reach,
body, yeah, that's why the body is a manifestation device.
that's correct.
Right.
And Nasik already told us and pointed out to us that the body is holistic. It is a holistic system.
Right. Right.
Thus, whatever happens on any level of reality, physical, emotional, or mental, also happens on every other level. How many of
Yeah.
y'all looked at the movie Men in Black 2?
I didn't see it.
I haven't seen it.
Anybody remember it? Malkiel, you remember it?
Nah, I haven't seen it.
Okay, we
I've
need to
seen
look at it because this was the second one, and they were looking for. Um, Man, I'm trying to. I got to familiarize. But the one sister, they were referring to her as a star,
Uh-huh.
and I'm trying to think of the sisters. Now I have all this together for you when I put the notes together. I'm gonna add this in here. But
this
anyway,
was the one that was the princess, right?
yes, yes, and they were thinking all the time that this star that they were talking about was something that was in the sky, but it was actually the black girl that Will Smith was falling in love with. And at the end, she said, she said, every time I'm sad, it started to rain. She said, every time I'm sad, it rains. And the one guy told her, he said, "Nah, baby, it rains because you are sad."
Mm.
Are you all with me?
Yeah.
Gang.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell you our power. So the the zodiac and the constellations, they don't control us.
We control it.
We control it.
Yes.
We are from for signs and seasons. Now see,
Mm-hmm.
there is an overall framework that our ancestors put in place, but guess what? They use the same power, now see, to put
Yeah.
it in place
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
have
Mm-hmm.
within us. And guess what? The constellations, when they put it in place, they responded.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why we can see this story. We can understand this language that the stars are transmitting to us. Day unto day uttereth speech, night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. But it ain't talking about the stars up in heaven. It's talking about your luminaries.
Mm-hmm.
Because it says, I and the children of Israel, the children rather, whom the Lord hath given me, are what? For signs
Uh,
and for wonders, where? In Israel. Once we return, Nasik, to this holistic language, we begin to control things and rule things cosmically once again.
Yeah.
Listen, and I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. This is what we talking about now. This is what we doing. And whatsoever what? Thou shalt bind
Bind
on earth shall be what?
bind in heaven.
The zodiac don't control us like that. We control it. Where? From the earth, Nasik, from the Asaya realm. From the realm of what? Actions.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to
Mm-hmm.
begin to what? Speak this language. We have to
Mm-hmm.
begin to practice binding and loosing. Whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Do we see this?
Okay.
Yeah.
We got the language, Nasik. The sisterhood got the tongue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is why, again, we're emphasizing start to activate that. What? In the realms of action, in the Asaya realm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't mean the brothers can't do it too, but the sisters are primary, I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, see, we already pointed out kava.
Absolutely.
Kava. We've already made that connection.
Eitai, what that scripture there was Matthew 16 and
16
19.
and 19. 16 and 19.
Mm-hmm.
Then said he unto them, therefore every scribe, which is what? Instructed unto the kingdom of heaven, not the kingdom of earth.
Mm-hmm.
That's religion, Malkiel.
Right. Come on,
That's
show.
religion.
Mm-hmm.
Is like unto a man that is an householder, which bringeth forth out of his treasure things new and things old. So now see, we're binding up the new and the old.
That's great. That's on time. That's on time.
So again, finishing up here, melanin. This is an article by the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry in Oberlin College here in Ohio. Melanin-based coatings as lead binding agents. They're finding out the binding aspect of melanin. And if we have that in us, we have the ability to what? Bind from a cosmic level, but from Earth, bind things on Earth, and certainly they will be bound in heaven. Loose
Yes.
things on Earth, and certainly they will be loosed in the heavens.
Mm-hmm.
Eitai,
Yes.
Eitai, this point right here. You remember I spoke with you earlier today, and we was discussing a matter, and we were discussing some of us being at one place and others at another place. Going back to this binding agent, using that as our fundamental to determine, the essence of what must be done in order that we be able to do it at will, so to speak.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
That's what we got to work on.
Now, see, we're building toward that every day. We're building toward that every day. And again, we got to start practicing this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We got to start practicing it. We are creating an energetic vortex. Now, see, this is undeniable. Malkiel, Amari, it's undeniable,
Okay.
bro. It's
Absolutely.
undeniable.
Absolutely.
So we just have to, I mean, we haven't done this for centuries. So again, we must what? Strengthen, Nasik, this attractor pattern
Yeah.
and these operants that what? Allow this thing to flow down into from the non-physical enfolded realm to what? The physical unfolded realm. And I'm telling you, we've already activated it. And we're starting to what? See the results daily, moment by moment.
Mm-hmm.
But family, we've been bound to another attractor pattern for so long that we
Yeah.
realize the difficulty. We ain't trying to rush nobody along. We're being patient now, see, and waiting and
Absolutely.
waiting.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
That's part of the process.
That's correct. So
Yeah.
now, melanin we know is a binding agent, and Nasik, again, as I close, started out saying that everything must be reconnected. Everything must be reconnected. And again, I'll state that one of the fundamental energetic characteristics and or cosmic qualities of melanin is its ability to absorb and bind. It has that power, and we are experiencing that power too, because now see, we are absorbing this light and we are binding, reconnecting with our source on a daily basis. So again, this is this holistic language, now see, and you know, again, establishing this framework, which is prophetic, which is fundamental,
12 o'clock.
it gives us a track to run on, you know, and it gives us a framework, now see, to operate in.
Right. Right.
We're concentrating, we're taking bite-sized pieces now, and we're concentrating on the last 400 to 500 years to to up to 6,000 years ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We're creating our energetic vortex within that. And once
Mm-hmm.
that is strong, look, eye has not seen,
Right. Right.
nor ear heard, nor the heart imagined what it is
Yes.
that we'll be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
With that, I'm
Yes.
going to end
Okay. I'm okay to go.
adding an addendum to the recording by Nasik Aharone. Go ahead, Abba.
Okay. The word sacred. Now, everybody hold the term sacred as something of great value. When you hear the word sacred, you automatically connect that to some creator. But let me show you what happened. Sacred is an adjective. And during the 14th century, from Middle English, it means to screen, to consecrate. Then it said of old French, sacre, from Latin means sacari, and sacre means holy. Then it says curse. Now, how do you be holy and be
Right.
cursed at the same
Right.
time? Goes on to
Mm-hmm.
say, akin to Latin, it says sanctified, to make sacred, to dedicate or set apart from the service or worship of a deity. B, devoted exclusively to one service or the use as a person or persons, worthy of religious veneration, holy. Now listen to this here. And it says holy. The definition number B said admitted to reference and respect or relating to religion, not secular or profane. Now listen to this. The revelation is found in the language and the use of the vowels of the English language A, E, I, O, and U.
Wow.
Sometime Y is where we uncover the deception. The dictionary word WHOLISTIC is a variation of the word HOLISTIC, while variation is VAR is an abbreviation for the word various, meaning different forms or kinds of the word holistic, 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 holism, whole, and wholeness.
Wow.
The underlying word holy is a religious term that is created when the letter W is dropped from the word whole list, and the letter I is then dropped and adding Y. Then you remove the remaining letters STIC after dropping the W and holding the HOL and replace the I with Y. You now have the word holy. Thus, the word holy gives the connotation or meaning of a kind of description, or even to describe that there exists a different from the root meaning holistic, which is a variation of holistic. This is to say that there only exists harmony with the will and desire of a deity or a higher authority than oneself when one is holy and not wholeness. You see, so if you become whole, there ain't no deity that you got to have any kind of veneration from. But when you are holy, you are looking to some deity to please them as being acceptable in their eyes.
Come on, Nasik.
Wow.
Man.
This creation was done to give the word holy a form of veneration, of respect, awe, dignity, wisdom, and dedication to the believer of the deception that he, she have done something they have had, something that they have merited, some sacred holy veneration. Thus, there are the original form of the word as follows: holistic, woolly, holistic, holism, whole, and wholeness, all done to give the word holy a form of veneration, of respect, awe, and dignity, wisdom, and dedication to a believer of the deception that he, she have done something that they have merited, some holy veneration. Then it goes on to say, yet what is it referred to as sacred or holy? In truth, there never was and never will ever cause or make anyone to become holistic, holy or holistic, or holism, whole or wholeness. Holy will never cause you to be whole. It will never cause you to be holistic. It will never cause you to be holism. None of those terms can the word holy make you become.
Wow.
Wow.
Excellent, Nasik.
So it's a little bit more to it, but I'll stop right there. So I'm saying that to go back to answer the sister's question is that once we came under this separation and division through our religious veneration and accepted that as a way to find a solution to our problem, that's when we start to lose access to our internal power of wholeness. We got to understand the necessity of reconnecting to ourselves. And then once you do that, you will then reconnect with the universe.
Yeah.
Very good.